At the beginning of the movie, we see two siblings named Becky and Cal in a car. They're driving somewhere when Becky starts feeling unwell, and they have to stop at a place. Beside them, there's a field of tall grass. Becky hears a young boy's voice coming from the grass. They also hear another sound nearby. Where the kid's mother was telling him not to ask for help, Becky and Cal found it strange. And now they both park their car in front of the church and walk into that tall grass, hoping to help the kid. Cal goes deeper into the grass, while Becky stays behind, calling the police. They both lost their way as they ventured into the grass. Supernatural incidents started happening to them as they walked through the grass. They couldn't find each other despite searching and calling out. They thought they heard each other nearby, but they were actually far apart. When they thought they heard each other from far away, they were actually close by. Now Becky comes up with an idea and shouts to Cal. She suggests that they both jump at the same time. This way, they might catch sight of each other. They both follow through with the plan and catch sight of each other while jumping. But when they jump again, they can't see each other anymore, which frightens them. By this time, night has fallen, and Becky encounters a man in the tall grass. He turns out to be the father of the boy they heard earlier. It's revealed that the kid's name is Tobin. Becky shares her story with the man, explaining how they heard the kid asking for help and ventured into the field of grass. And now it's night, and the siblings couldn't find each other. Now the man named Ross suggests to Becky that they should stick together. He proposes that they search for Cal while staying close to each other. On the other side, Tobin approaches Becky's brother. Tobin tells Cal, "Do you know how easy it is to catch dead things in the tall grass? The grass doesn't cover dead things." However, Cal doesn't seem very interested in his story. Ignoring his story, Cal asks, "How did you end up here?" Tobin then reveals, "Our family went to the church, and we heard a man's voice calling for help from the grass. As we stepped into the grass, we lost sight of that man, and the three of us got separated." Tobin says to Cal, "I know that your sister Becky will die." Hearing this, Cal felt strange because Tobin had not seen Becky yet, nor had Cal told him about his sister. Cal asks him, "How do you know this?" Then Tobin responds, "I have been told this by a rock, and this grass has revealed it to the rock, which knows everything." The whole story of Tobin seemed useless to Cal, so Tobin leads Cal to that rock. Before Cal can touch the rock, he hears Becky's voice. Confused, he starts searching for her again. During this time within the tall grass, we see another man entering the tall grass. He was Travis, the spouse of Becky, who had arrived here, searching for Cal and Becky. First of all, he encounters Tobin there, who says to him, "I know you're here looking for Becky." He also informs him that Becky is no more. He also guides him to Becky's dead body. Travis is grief-stricken upon seeing her dead, and he, holding her necklace, spends the whole night there crying. Morning comes, and Travis also tries to make an attempt to get out of the tall grass. However, he finds it difficult to navigate his way out. Suddenly, Travis hears the sound of a kid beyond the tall grass and calls out to him for help. This kid turns out to be Tobin. Now, Tobin's entire family enters the grass to rescue Travis. However, they are unable to locate Travis, and they become separated from each other as well. Many days pass, and the movie returns to its opening scene, where Becky and Cal have stopped. Tobin calls out to them for help. While Tobin's mother is warning him against calling for help, the movie becomes more intricate. Let's break it down. Essentially, this movie revolves around a time loop where all the characters are trapped. The cycle begins when Tobin responds to Travis's call for help, and Cal and Becky enter the field of grass in response to Tobin's call. Whereas it has been witnessed that Travis had arrived here while searching for Becky and Cal. It indicates an enigmatic time cycle, which is persisting throughout the movie. Let's resume the movie from the same scene where Cal and Becky have entered the field of tall grass. As they call out to each other, their voices are also heard by Travis now. He urges them to keep talking, so the three of them eventually converge at a spot. Now Becky and Cal inquire from Travis, "What are you doing here?" Then Travis discloses to both of them, "You have been missing for the last 2 months, and I have come here while searching for both of you." This revelation seemed incredibly strange to them, because they'd only been here for 2 days. And the reason it seemed like that to Cal or Becky was because it was their second cycle, which is continuing in this movie. But this time, cycle remains a mystery for everyone. Even the characters in the movie are unaware of it. Now, all three of them were attempting to escape from this place. Meanwhile, they also hear the voice of someone nearby. It was Tobin. Travis lifts him onto his shoulders so he can guide them, surveying the area outside of the tall grass field. Tobin informs them about a building nearby, and they begin walking towards that building. Meanwhile, Becky receives a voice message on her cell phone. Someone in the message warns her not to let Cal harm Travis and not to let them repeat the same mistake again and again. This message appears mysterious to all three of them, but they choose to ignore it and continue forward. As they near the edge of the tall grass, it begins to swallow Becky up. As a result, Becky loses consciousness. Cal and Travis quickly rush to her side. Meanwhile, Tobin's father also arrives. He woke Becky up saying, "I know the way out of here." Simultaneously, Tobin tells his father that they have seen a building outside and are heading towards it. As Tobin looks at the building while sitting on his father's shoulder, he doesn't see any building there. Acknowledging this, they all decide to leave with Ross. Instead of taking them outside, Ross leads them to a rock and begins to explain the benefits of touching it. Just as Cal is about to touch the rock, Tobin's mother arrives at the scene, and she warns them not to touch that rock. She claims that Ross has harmed her there and has also seen Becky dead. They dismiss her warning, assuming she's mentally disturbed from being in the grass for so long. However, when Ross insists they touch the rock, Travis senses something amiss and begins to confront him. In the ensuing altercation, Ross gains the upper hand over Travis. Travis remains resolute and urges the others to flee. As they agree and begin to leave, Ross brutally attacks Tobin's mother. Shocked and terrified, they all run together, desperately searching for an exit. Eventually, they encounter a dog and follow its lead to a remote store, finally escaping the tall grass field. As Travis and Cal argue inside the store, they hear Ross outside. Hurriedly, they make their way to the store's rooftop, hoping to find a way out. From there, they realize that the only way to escape is by traversing through the tall grass. But then they notice that the dog who brought them to the store had gone underneath the ground, emerging on the other side of the grass. Witnessing this, Travis slips and Cal manages to catch him momentarily. However, Cal deliberately releases his grip, causing Travis to fall. Tobin notices Cal's actions, and before Tobin could explain or say anything to him, they hear Ross's voice again. Now Cal goes downstairs, taking both of them. Now Tobin had stepped into the tall grass again after going downstairs. Now Cal and Becky had also entered the tall grass field. It appears that all these actions are influenced by the mysterious message received by Becky. Cal harmed Travis based on this message, and Tobin has once again entered the field of grass, repeating the same mistake. Cal and Becky have also entered the tall grass field. Now Ross catches Cal in the grass field. When Cal tries to move to the other side after freeing himself from Ross, Ross follows him to catch him again, and he was telling Cal that no matter which direction you run in this grass field, I will catch you. After this, he strangles him to death. Now many dead bodies of Cal are seen in the tall grass field, indicating that Ross has killed him multiple times within the time loop shown in the movie. When Becky, scared, was running away from there, she saw figures in the grass whose bodies had faces replaced by grass. And those grass men carry Becky to the same rock, the rock that Ross had brought them to. Now Becky is about to give birth near this rock. And right there's a hole where we see that Becky has already given birth to her baby many times before. Now Becky calls her own number from her cell phone, hoping to prevent herself from returning to this place in the next time cycle. So, the unknown call that Becky received was actually made by Becky herself. And after making the call, Becky lost consciousness. And when she regains consciousness, she looks at her brother Cal beside her, holding Becky's baby. Upon seeing this, she again lost consciousness. As she fully regains her senses, she notices that Cal is feeding her something. Cal tells Becky that he is feeding her the grass, but in reality, he is feeding her the baby. Meanwhile, the boy Cal transforms into Ross. He was Ross all along. Later, Tobin and Travis are seen, with Tobin telling Travis that his father will keep killing them repeatedly. In reality, Tobin and Travis were at the beginning of a new cycle, where Tobin was explaining things to him according to the cycle. They both arrive at the rock, where Ross begins to attack Travis violently and forces his son to touch the rock. However, Becky arrives and kills Ross from behind. Travis reluctantly touches the rock and immediately feels a strange sensation. With Ross now dead, and because Travis touched this rock, he knew all the paths through the grass. But a curse had been placed upon him, preventing him from ever leaving this grass. So now he takes off Becky's necklace and gives it to Tobin. He then tells him the way out of the grass and says, "Wait for Becky and Cal outside the grass, then give Becky this necklace and tell her the whole story, ensuring she doesn't enter the field." In the final scene of the movie, it becomes apparent that the time loop is about to begin again. It implies that Cal and Becky were on the verge of entering the tall grass field. However, Tobin spots them from the church and divulges the entire truth to them. Consequently, they decide not to step into the tall grass, persuaded by Tobin's revelations. As for Travis, he meets his demise in the grass field. The movie concludes with this scene, marking the end of the story.